Okay, now that we have already poked i's out, we're going to talk about how we would add or subtract complex numbers. And this is basically like terms. So, for example, you're given one complex number here, 5 plus 3i, and you have to add 2 minus 7i to it. So you treat it just like variables and plain numbers. 5 and 2 are like terms. You can just write 7, and 3i and negative 7i will turn out to be minus 4i. So I can just write minus 4i. No tricks involved there. Just be careful when you do something like this, because that minus, it's kind of like there's a minus 1 out in front of this complex number. That minus will distribute to both. So it's really 2 minus I minus 7 minus 8i. And if you remember from yesterday, this minus is what most people miss. So 2 and minus 7 is minus 5. Minus I and minus 8i is minus 9i. Okay. So the next thing we'll have to do, besides just adding and subtracting, is multiplying. Alright. So the key here is to remember that when you have an I squared, that thing is the same as negative 1. So, for example, if I have 2i times 5 plus I, you're going to do a lot of distributing and a lot of foiling. Here we have one chunk that can be distributed to the binomial there. So 2i times 5i is 10i, and 2i times I is 2i squared. Now this is what I'm talking about. The I squared is actually negative 1. So I should rewrite this 10i plus negative 2. And if you're like the book or every other mathematician, you will rewrite it with the plain number in front so that it's like a plus bi. The imaginary part is always in the back. So that is a simpler example. Sometimes you'll run into something like 2 plus I and then 3 minus 4i. And so we are going to still, we're going to FOIL this out, and we're still going to just use the fact that I squared is negative 1. So there's two ways to do this. One way is to do the box. And so I'd put 2 and I and 3 and negative 4i here. And we multiply where columns and rows intersect. So 2 times 3 is 6. I times 3 is 3i. This would be negative 8i and negative 4i squared. Okay, and I circle the I squared because that's actually negative 1. So what I have here is a 6. I'm going to combine these two terms, so that would be minus 5i minus 4 times negative 1, because that was the I squared. That really is just a plus 4, so I have 10 minus 5i. So that's if you want to do the box. Some people just like doing the wind and wave. So what I mean by that is, I think this is the wave here. You just multiply those out. So 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8i. And then you do the wind, I guess, or the wave. I'm not sure which one's which. That would be 3i and then minus 4i squared. The book recommends this, and I recommend this sometimes because it's nice to line up like terms like that while you're going through it. And so this would be 6 minus 5i, and then we know because that I squared is a negative 1, this is really plus 4, 10 minus 5i. Same answer, two methods, and I will actually probably do a lot of this method on this side. But if you prefer the box is neater and more organized.